And then obviously to aid in the destruction of America healthcare-wise, there's a new generation of doctors who are being released to the public, and they only got through medical school and became doctors because they're minorities.
Yeah, basically.
And this might sound a little harsh, but wait, it gets way worse.
Yeah, so this is from Aaron Sibarium, who kind of broke this story. The story was broken through testimonials from people who worked at UCLA Medical Center, med school, professors, and through emails that he acquired. So whistleblowers at UCLA Medical School say it dramatically lowered admission standards for minority applicants. As a result, they say 50% of some cohorts now fail basic tests of medical competence. And part of the article blames it on this woman. UCLA Medical School hired a new dean of admissions, Jennifer Lucero, in 2020. Since then, George Floyd era. Mm-hmm. Whenever something changed in 2020 and you look back and, the police department no longer does this, 2020, admissions, let everybody in. There it is. There's the guy, King Floyd. But yeah, so since then, the number of students failing their shelf exams, standardized tests taken after each clinical rotation, has exploded, rising as much as tenfold in some subjects. That wasn't a coincidence. So failures 10x, right?
Failures 10x, and then look at this next part about what these doctors do and don't know.
One professor said, so we're not going to go through a lot of the details of this, but we're going to say some anecdotal things and kind of rehash our point that lowering standards for Black or Hispanic applicants, I think it's mostly Black, doesn't really help anybody and actually is going to hurt and possibly kill patients and bring their insurance way up. One professor said that a student in the operating room could not identify a major artery when asked, then berated the professor for putting her on the spot. Wonder what race she was. Artery. How many major arteries are there in the human body, right?
6. I don't know.
6, 10. I don't even know. I'm not in med school.
Aorta.
Another said that students at the end of their clinical rotations don't know basic lab tests and in some cases are unable to present patients. I don't know how some of these students are going to be junior doctors, the professor said, right? And here's another quote that says, a former member of the admission staff said, "We want racial diversity so badly we're willing to cut corners to get it." And they're willing to cut corners, and then that doctor's just going to cut your aorta or snip your little artery because they don't know.
Shit. I said.
And so we're reality enjoyers on the show, and we like to look at the bright side of these things, right? And so we're kind of reading between the lines on this report. And it said all the normal criteria for getting into medical school only apply to people of certain races, an admission officer said. For other people, those criteria are completely disregarded.
So now's the time to be racist when picking your doctor.
When a racist policy creates incompetent doctors, how do you fight racism?
With racism.
With more racism, of course.
It's your only hope.
So that's the good news. I'm reading this and I'm like, oh God, is everyone fucked and dumb? And I'm like, no, the whites and the Asians are still having to get perfect scores. Yes.
Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones. Dr. Lee.
Yeah, Dr. Lee.
Chan. Dr. Chan, so good to see you. And so basically, that's great that they're still doing it. And yeah, this is going to cause patients to kind of discriminate. Don't go to the emergency room. The emergency room, you get assigned a random doctor. So you have to have a preferred doctor, right? And so we were joking before the show, imagine kind of screening your doctor and being like, all right, hey, okay, yeah, you're white. You look pretty good. Blonde, blue eyes. Wow, this guy probably had to work hard. And then you find out he's the dean of admissions son or something. No! You're like, fuck, he's still a nepotism doctor.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do a lot of research and figure out who your doctors are. But this is they're blowing the whistle at UCLA, right? Mm-hmm. And UCLA is doing it. It's happening everywhere. This kind of low standards and failing. We're going to hear about it more and more. Republican conspiracy, right-wing conspiracy theories are news from 12 months in the future, right? And we've been harping on this with DEI hires in other areas like Boeing or different things like that. And it's just this is your life.
And then, but the good news is when it comes to these doctors who aren't qualified, all they're going to really have to do is just write prescriptions for people with symptoms that can get them on the big pharma payroll for life. Mm-hmm. And then you can just go into a doctor's office. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. Just be like, hey, Need a little Adderall.
Hey, doc, I got to get my head straight. I need some Valium. I need some Adderall.
So they can write you that.
So if you guys want some pills, you can still kind of abuse these unqualified doctors, right?
Exactly. Well, let's move